Did you hear that? My computer told me recording in progress. So I've started the recording, and welcome to Trail Talk, which occurs on the third Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. and has been going for about 8 months now, 7 or 8 months. And tonight's topic is my favorite hikes in Yosemite National Park. And actually, I will be the speaker. But I'm also your Zoom host, and I first want to go over some rules. The first and most important rule is you must remain muted. So if you aren't muted yet, please do that. And if you have questions during my talk, and I will pause after I describe each hike to answer questions, put your questions in the chat box. So the bottom of your screen, there's a little talking bubble with the word chat under it. If you click on that, it'll open up a little thing down in the right-hand corner of your screen, and you can type your questions in that area. And Carla and Julianne will be monitoring that. So when I pause for questions, they can relay those questions to me and I can answer them. Also, once we're finished, once my presentation is completely done, I will be open to any other questions. And at that point, after I'm done talking, you can unmute yourself and ask directly instead of typing it in chat. And I'm going to put something in the chat right now because I forgot when I sent the reminder message, I forgot to include the link to the YouTube channel, the San Gorgonio chapter YouTube channel. So I just put that in the chat section is the link. So you might want to copy that, particularly if you have to leave early and can't watch the whole thing, you can copy that. And at your leisure, go to our YouTube channel and watch the whole thing, or look at other past Trail Talk presentations because they're all there. So that's a good resource to know. I see a couple people who aren't muted, so I'm going to mute them. So we want people to stay muted so that there's no background noise that's distracting or gets in the way of my talking. One other thing I want to say before I hand it over to Julianne is I said third Wednesday of each month, but next month we're making an exception. There was a conflict, and our speaker, David Money Harris, was not able to do it on the third Wednesday. So it's going to be on the fourth Wednesday next month, August 25th. And it's already posted in the outings section on the San Gorgonio chapter website. You can register. We have about 5 people that have registered so far there. And that will be on the fourth Wednesday. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Carla, or not Carla, but Julianne. And Julianne, you can say your little bit.
You got it. Thanks, John. We always like to introduce our speakers to do it properly. And just because John is the host is no exception. John is a retired public school teacher, having taught kindergarten through 8th grade. He's also a storyteller and runs a storytelling group called the Inland Valley Storytellers. And I can tell you it's a wonderful group, having listened to their stories. John has camped and hiked in Yosemite National Park for 22 years with his family, and he's done additional hiking with friends, including the Yosemite High Sierra camps. John leads Sierra Club outings and is the Los Serranos group outings chair. He is one of the members of our committee that plans the Trail Talk Zoom meetings, and he hosts the Zoom sessions. So John is essential, and he has done just a wonderful job these last few months with Trail Talk and as a leader for many years with the Sierra Club. So John, thank you so much for agreeing to present tonight about Yosemite, which is such a topical program given the fine weather up there. So perhaps people can go up this summer and try some of the hikes that you're going to describe. So with that, John, take it away, and thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Julianne. And let's see, I'll put the spotlight on me now. And what I'm going to do now is share screen so that you can see my slideshow presentation. And let's see here. I have to remove the floating meeting controls cover part of my slide that I need to read. So I took that off, and I think I'm ready to go. Okay. So one thing I noticed, I'm seeing a whole bunch of people's pictures on the side. I thought it was only the speaker that was going to show. That's interesting. I'm not sure how to change that, but it doesn't really matter. It's not covering much of my slide. So the topic is my favorite Yosemite day hikes. And that's a picture of me standing on North Dome, which is one of the hikes I'll describe, with Half Dome behind me. Now, in picking out these hikes to present to you tonight, there were certain reasons that I picked them out as my 5 favorite hikes. The very most important reason for a hike to be a favorite of mine, there needs to be great panoramic scenic views at the destination. And I'd also like to have some beauty along the trail and or historical attractions. And the third one is also very important, and that is I don't like trails that are really, really crowded. And therefore, you will not hear me talk about any of the most famous hikes in Yosemite National Park today, because the most famous ones start in the valley and they are all very crowded. So you're not going to hear about the hike to Yosemite Falls. I've done that. It's a great hike. You're not going to hear about the Misty Trail up to Vernal Falls and Nevada Falls and Half Dome. I've done that several times. Great hikes, but they are very crowded. Particularly at the beginning on the Misty Trail. And one of the reasons I don't like crowded trails is in order for a hike to be enjoyable to me, I like to have time to talk with friends and family that are going on the hike with me. And if it's a crowded trail, that is just harder to do. So that's one of the big reasons I don't like crowded trails. I put in number 5, standing at the base of a big waterfall can take the place of the great panoramic view. That's just awesome. I love waterfalls. And then the 6th one is I like physically challenging hikes. And all the hikes I'm going to show you today are at high elevation, which can be challenging if you're not used to hiking at high elevation. And 4 of the 5, well, there's only one really easy hike. And I did throw in one really easy hike, which is a good hike to do your first day in Yosemite if you're like camping at Tuolumne Meadows campground and you're not really ready for
John, you're muted.
Sorry, that was me. There was somebody that wasn't muted, and so I tried to mute them, but I muted John as well. Okay. I apologize.
Got it.
Let's see if we can.
Okay, I'm back on.
Sorry about that, John. I apologize.
No problem.
So I don't know. I don't think I said anything after I noticed I was muted. So I'll go on. And excuse me. I've been hiking. I went camping at Yosemite for 22 years with my family and did hikes every year. And I've also, as Julianne mentioned, I've done the Yosemite High Sierra camps as well. So I've done quite a bit of hiking. see if I can get, okay. So here's my favorite. May Lake and Mount Hoffmann. Actually, it's Mount Hoffmann. It's just that when you do the Mount Hoffmann hike, you go past May Lake, and that's a picture of May Lake, which is just a gorgeous lake. And this is at a high elevation. You start at 8,710 feet. I'm not going to show you any pictures of the first mile and a quarter. It's kind of boring going up to May Lake, but once you get to May Lake, everything's beautiful. And I'll show you lots of pictures. So if you're just going to May Lake, it's 2.5 miles round trip, only 560 feet elevation gain, not a terribly difficult hike. But once you leave May Lake, you really start gaining. So the entire hike up to the top of Mount Hoffmann is 6 miles round trip with 2,135 feet elevation gain. And that is a lot because part of that is just walking around May Lake, which is totally flat. So after you leave May Lake, you really start climbing. I love alpine lakes. I discovered something interesting. I had never been to May Lake when there were clouds, where it was really, really cloudy. And I always assumed that the lake was blue, but really the blue is the reflection of the sky. And when you have clouds, I went on a cloudy day once and the lake was gray. And that was a revelation to me. But I love it when you get the trees reflected in the water like it is in this one. Now, from the Mount Hoffmann Trail, you get great views. This is not from the top, but this is on the way up. On your left is, actually it's kind of center left is Cloud's Rest. And on your right, you can see Half Dome off in the distance. Great views from the trail. And you can turn around and look back down. Now notice May Lake is not blue, it's gray because of the clouds. But this was a clear day and here May Lake is blue. Now I'm including this, I looked it up, it's a mountain grouse, and I think it's the dusky grouse. But the reason I include it is I would say at least 50% of the time that I do this hike to Mount Hoffmann, we see these birds on the trail, which is really quite remarkable. And they're not really very afraid of us. You know, I'm standing right there. I think I got a picture of a pant leg of somebody hiking with me there. And it's not really afraid of us. Then you get out of the green part with the plants and the bushes and the trees, and it's pretty darn barren. That's Mount Hoffmann up there. Up at the top, there's a weather station tower, and there's a nice trail. You can see the trail winding up there. That's my son Jason up ahead of me. Then I turned around, and there is Half Dome. You can not see Cloud's Rest so much anymore. It's off to the left. You can see the edge of it. There's Half Dome off in the distance. And here I zoomed in on Half Dome. Now, the trail at the very end, the trail ends, and you just have to start climbing up the rocks. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see little people climbing up those rocks. It's all fours in some places. You put away your trekking poles if you're using your trekking poles, because they are of no use on the rocks. And here I am on top of Mount Hoffmann with my son Jason, and there's Half Dome in the background. Just a spectacular view. Now, I have heard that Mount Hoffmann was one of John Muir's favorite peaks in Yosemite National Park because this mountain peak is in the geographic center of the park. And there are no taller mountains close to it. So you get 360 degrees view all the way around. So that's why I chose this as my favorite day hike in Yosemite, because it's beautiful on the way up and it's just gorgeous on top. And it is physically challenging, but not too long. 6 miles round trip is not a terribly long hike. Here's Jason on the top, standing on the edge. I would not stand here. It made me very nervous because right behind him, there is this drop. And well, actually that's to the side of him. Directly behind him is this. And you see those green things down there? Those are trees. I mean, there's probably at least 1,000-foot drop there, just directly, just straight down from where he was standing. It's rather spectacular to look over there. It gives me a little funny feeling in my stomach because I'm kind of afraid of heights, but it is beautiful. Then on the way back down, this is a nice shot of that trail leading up to the base of the mountain. Just wide open space. Just there's something about being able to look and see for a long way a wide open space that's just awe-inspiring. And that's Jason ahead of me going down. And then we get to see May Lake again as we approach it. Sunny day, it's blue. Okay, second favorite hike, North Dome. And the only reason why this isn't my favorite is because you don't get scenic views on the way up to North Dome, but the views from North Dome are just as good or better than the views from Mount Hoffmann. So it's an 8.8 mile round trip. Trailhead is 8,100 feet, 580-foot elevation gain on the return trip. So this is a reverse hike. Your destination is actually a lower elevation than your start. I copied this information from the park website and they rate it as moderate strenuous. The only thing that makes it strenuous is the fact that it's one of those hikes where it's down and then up. So you start out by going, gosh, at least a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, rather steep downhill, and you cross a stream, and then you start going uphill and you go up over a ridge and then you go down, then you go up over a ridge and then you go down. And the third ridge you go up on top of is where you begin to get the spectacular views. So you begin at Porcupine Creek Trailhead on Tioga Road. There's a big parking area there. This picture, by the way, is a picture of Half Dome from Yosemite Valley. I took this picture from the valley looking up at Half Dome. To the right of this picture is, looking at North Dome. To the right is Half Dome. So this is what it looks like at the trailhead, a nice sign, Porcupine Creek Trailhead, North Dome 4.4, so it's 8.8 round trip. This trail actually takes you all the way to Yosemite Valley if you want to do that. You'd have to have a car meeting you down there. You would not want to turn around and go back up, I'm sure, to get to your car that's parked at this trailhead. But I've never gone past North Dome. I've never gone all the way down, not even to Yosemite Falls, which actually wouldn't be too bad. This is the view when you get to the top of that third ridge. There is Half Dome. And it's just an incredible sight. It's hard to describe how incredible it is because the photos don't totally catch it. Here I zoomed in on it. And that's North Dome from the trail. We haven't reached it yet. We're up on that final ridge, and that's North Dome. And there's Clouds Rest. So you get an amazing view of Clouds Rest from the trail. And I zoomed in on it. Now this one, I believe I'm actually standing on North Dome. And that's Half Dome. And this is an iconic picture. There's this dead tree that people like to include as part of the photo with Half Dome in the background. And this is one of my favorite spots to pose. The rock that I have my hand on almost looks like a shoe. And it's just unreal that Half Dome is just right there behind me. This is another good spot that I like to have my picture taken. But it's not just Half Dome. If you start creeping down the side of North Dome, you'll be able to see Yosemite Valley down there. And it's quite a unique view of Yosemite Valley. And sometimes I creep down a little further than what other people feel comfortable with to get a good shot. I was just talking to Brian Elliott today, who's the chairperson of the Los Serranos group. He has done North Dome from the valley, climbing up the side of the dome, but that's because he's a rock climber. I'm no rock climber. I'm just a hiker. But a great view of the valley. And it's a unique view. That's the nice thing about North Dome. You just have absolutely unique views of wonderful, very popular sites. Okay, hike number 3. Oh, guess what? Have there been any questions in the chat section?
John, can we go back to your first hike?
Yeah.
Where's the trailhead in relation to the Tuolumne Meadows campground? How do we get to the May Lake Mount Hoffmann?
Okay, so it is 1.2 miles east of Porcupine Flat campground. To the west is Tuolumne Meadows, a couple miles. Okay. Maybe a mile and a half. So it's below Tuolumne Meadows.
And what about the first hike, the one to Mount Hoffmann?
Oh, Mount Hoffmann. Yes, I didn't mention that. Duh. Good question.
No, that's okay.
So, do I have the trailhead? I guess I don't, because I didn't include that. So
that's okay.
That's off. I'm trying to think in relation to like the North Dome hike. It's off of Tioga Road. It's on the left instead of on the right. And it's probably before you get to the Porcupine Creek trailhead, I think. But there is a sign, and the sign won't say Mount Hoffmann. It'll say May Lake.
May Lake, okay.
May Lake, yeah.
All right.
Okay, let me go back. Any other questions?
Good to know.
That was a good one.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, so third favorite is Mount Dana. Trailhead at Tioga Pass. Elevation 9,945 feet. Dana elevation's 13,061, so it's a round trip, 6 miles, not terribly long, but you are gaining 3,116 feet in the 3 miles going up, which is very steep, particularly when you consider the fact that the first quarter to a half mile is flat. So after that, you really climb. And this picture here shows one of the ponds. The very beginning part of the hike, you go past 3 ponds, and they're really, really beautiful, but it's totally flat. And that's Dana up there at the top of this photo. So this is the trailhead here.
Okay, right.
That's the entrance or the exit, depending on which direction you're going, of the park at Tioga Pass. So I'm standing right next to my car. As we were going out, we had been camping at White Wolf Campground. And so we turned off to the left, and there's a gravel area. There's another little parking area off to the left. See a couple cars parked there as well. Those are probably the rangers there. But there is a gravel parking area, not terribly big, that I'm standing on when I'm taking this photo. And so you cross the street to the other side to begin the hike. And this is what you see. These ponds are just beautiful. And I couldn't find any pictures. I think it was pre-digital that I had taken all the pictures of the lupin, because there's beautiful flowers, mostly lupin in this area, if you go at the right time of year. Okay, after that, you start climbing. And this is part way up. I turned around and took a picture looking back down. Now I did this hike, the last time I did this hike, I was training for doing the Inca Trail in Peru to Machu Picchu. And that trip started on July 4th. So we were hiking the last week of June. And usually I do most of my hiking in late July or early August. But in June, there was still snow. So we had a couple of snowfields to cross. There were 4 of us doing the hike this day. And then once we got past the snowfield there, we could see the trail. And it's a fairly distinct trail. There's no signs, but I mean, where else are you going to go? It's pretty barren, and you can see the mountaintop right in front of you. You're not going to get lost. And amazingly, there are plants in amongst the rocks. This one is the sky pilot. It's a perennial plant that grows in high altitudes, mostly above 10,000 feet. It's endemic to the Sierra Nevada in California, where it grows in the talus of the high mountain slopes. And here we are, the 4 of us on top of Mount Dana. That's Mono Lake in the background. This is what it looks like without us in the way. It's even more spectacular. And then turning back the other way, you're looking into the park, Yosemite National Park. To the south, I believe. We're looking south here. And then going back down, had to cross the snowfield again. Now, when you hike in July, there's usually no snow to cross. There might be little tiny patches hidden in shaded areas by rock, but there was quite a bit of snow at the end of June, the year we did this. And then you're back to the beautiful ponds at the beginning. Now, any questions about that hike, Mount Dana? No, nothing in the chat? Okay. That was the most difficult hike of the ones I'm presenting.
Wow.
So this is number, yep.
Just a stunning, wow, what a stunning view on that last one of both Mono Lake and the park. Just amazing.
Yeah, Dana is right on the edge of the park. And at 13,000 feet, it's the second highest peak in the park. Mount Lyell is the highest. Okay, the next one, Mono Pass hike. Now this one actually isn't that difficult. It's not that strenuous. It's 7.4 miles round trip to make it to the pass. It's a little longer if you hike over the pass down the other side to the Sardine Lakes to where you can see Mono Lake. But the trailhead elevation is 9,700 feet. The elevation at the pass is 10,599. So, you know, you're going to feel it if you're not used to that altitude. But the total elevation gain in the 3.9 miles that you're going is only 900 feet. That's not a terribly strenuous hike. But like I say, if you're not used to the elevation, it may feel strenuous. Now, this map shows where the trailhead is. The yellow line that you see is Tioga Road. So it's actually, there's a little parking area for the trailhead. There are bear boxes because this is a starting point for backpacks for people. You can go beyond Mono Pass and go to Parker Pass and beyond that and do a long backpack if you want. So it's probably about a half mile, 3/4 of a mile before you get to the exit of the park at Tioga Pass. So it's above Tuolumne Meadows. It's between Tuolumne Meadows and the Tioga Pass, which is the park entrance exit. And the red line shows the route for the hike. And if you know anything about topo maps, that first part is absolutely flat. And you do some climbing, but not terribly steep climbing. And then it flattens out again as you get to the pass itself. And then it shows the dotted line past the red line is going into Ansel Adams Wilderness. And then there's Sardine Lake just on the edge. That's Upper Sardine Lake on the edge of the map there. And I don't remember whether you have to go, I think you have to go past Upper Sardine to Lower Sardine to actually get a good view of Mono Lake. Okay. This is the trailhead sign. And notice it mentions Parker Pass is another 1.5 miles past Mono Pass. And this part is just almost totally flat. And it's really pretty meadows, lots of wildflowers, some trees. I think there are 2 stream crossings. This is one of them. You have to do a stream crossing, which can be difficult in a heavy snow year if you're going early in the summer. It can have a lot of water in it. And then you go through a forested area, which is where you're climbing. And then you come out to another meadow right before the pass. And this is looking back, just about reached the pass, looking back. And here we are at the pass. Mono Pass elevation 10,599. And then it says Bloody Canyon Trail to Mono Lake. So you actually apparently can go all the way to Mono Lake. I haven't done that. That's my friend Marcia posing with me. And lots of wildflowers. This is Indian paintbrush, and I'm not sure what the purple one is, but really pretty. Just below the pass in the park, there's this pond. It doesn't have a name. And in front of the pond, you can kind of see a trail going through the green grassy area. That's the trail we were on that we turned off of to get up to the pass. And that trail takes you to Parker Pass and beyond if you want to go beyond. From the pass, you do have some nice views. This is Summit Lake, which is just right. There's a kind of a flat area there at the pass. And this is Summit Lake. You go past that if you want to see Mono Lake, and you hike on this trail, which then starts to take you down on the other side of the pass. And if you look at that ridge that's going up near the bottom of the ridge, just above the trees, you see the reddish color. The rocks got really, really red on the side. And I think that's why they call it Bloody Canyon, is because there's a lot of red rocks in that canyon. So this, I believe, is Lower Sardine Lake. And there's Mono Lake down below. And this is kind of where we stopped and then turned around and went back. And this is the trail coming back, I believe. And here's the trail going down. Those are my 2 sons taking off ahead of me. And this area is pretty flat, kind of a meadow. And then you get into the trees, and that was the only steep part. And it wasn't too long, maybe a mile at the most, that there was any climbing at all on this hike. Any questions about that Mono Pass hike?
Yeah, John, a couple. Where are the High Sierra camps in relation to this? And where's the closest car camping to this?
Okay, so the High Sierra camps, there's a High Sierra camp in Tuolumne Meadows. That would be the closest to this particular hike, the Mono Pass hike, because the trailhead is kind of, halfway between Tuolumne Meadows and Tioga Pass. May Lake is a High Sierra camp. That's at May Lake is one of the High Sierra camps. And just a beautiful, and not only is it beautiful because of the lake, but that was my favorite High Sierra camp. We did all 5 of them one summer. And the reason it was my favorite, well, 2 reasons. One, because I could climb Mount Hoffmann because I love that hike. And secondly, the people who ran that camp were just really, really nice. We actually went the year before we got the whole 5 High Sierra camps. You submit your name for your group. All of us called one, and all of us went online and submitted our names. And one person got chosen the first year for a partial. We could do 3 camps. We could do Tuolumne Meadows, we could do May Lake, and we could do Glen Allen. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one with the waterfall. Anyway, it was smoky. There were fires, and we got smoked out of Tuolumne. It was just awful. May Lake was up above it. The smoke was coming up the Grand Canyon of the Tuolumne, and Glen Allen was right in the middle of the smoke. And so we talked to the guy, the head of the May Lake camp, and said, we don't want to go down in that smoke. Anyway, you can put us up here. Well, he was getting cancellations because of the fires. They had closed Tioga Road. And so he said, well, I've got 2 beds available. And there were 3 of us. Don't know about the 3rd one. Well, what he did, he put up the 2 people in a cabin, in a tent cabin. And then he let me sleep in his cabin. He had an extra bed for when his wife comes up to visit him. And she wasn't there. So he was nice enough to let me sleep in his cabin. I thought that was great. Mm-hmm. So May Lake is my favorite ice ski camp. Mm-hmm. Any other questions about what I've covered so far? Okay, this is the easiest one. Lyell Canyon, elevation trailhead, 8,600 feet. This is where you start, right in Tuolumne Meadows Ranger Station. And the elevation gain is less than 100 feet for the first 8 miles. That's just about as flat as you can get without being totally flat. And then after that, it's 2,500 feet if you actually go all the way to Donahue Pass. And this, by the way, this trail is part of the John Muir Trail, and it is famous for being the easiest part of the John Muir Trail, for obvious reasons. This is a great hike to do. Like if you're camping at either White Wolf or Tuolumne Meadows or one of the primitive campgrounds, and you're not used to the elevation, your first day hike, after you spend your first night there, this would be a great one because you're not exerting yourself. You're at high elevation, so you're walking along, breathing that thin air, but you're not going uphill and exerting yourself from that point. So it's a good way to get acclimated to the high elevation, a good first day hike. And it's beautiful. You're walking, for a lot of the time, you're walking right along the Lyell Fork of the Tuolumne River. And because it's so flat, it's not a rushing river stirring up sediment. It's really calm water, and you can see the bottom. I mean, it's crystal clear water. You can see the bottom of the stream bed. It's just amazing. You can see the fish swimming around in it. It's just really pretty. So if you want a nice, relaxing walk, this is it. There's me. There's the same view without me. I did a day hike here with my son, Jason. He went fishing in the Tuolumne River, and I went hiking, and I went beyond what he did. And then we met back up with him as I came down. So a lot of the time you're really close to the river. Sometimes you leave the river and you go through a forested area, but you're still not gaining much elevation. It's almost flat, and it's really pretty. And it's a fairly wide canyon in a lot of places, especially when you get up higher. And this is a view looking back down, and the wide open space where your eyes can see a far distance is really relaxing. Look at that. And that is the end of my slideshow. So I'm going to stop the share, and I can answer questions at this point. If you can either type them in or unmute and ask. I'm going to remove my spotlight.
Wow, John, stunning, just stunning, all of it. Any further word about reservations for either the High Sierra camps, any of the car camps that you've been in there, or any special permitting rules for any of these hikes?
Well, you don't need permits for day hikes. If you're backpacking, you need a permit. and all the campgrounds are closed. Tuolumne Meadows is open. It's the only one up there off of Tioga Road that's open. White Wolf is closed for the summer. Even all the primitive camps are closed for the summer. You really can't, there are not many openings for campsites this summer. Hopefully next summer it'll open up more. And of course you need reservations just to get into the park. And I believe usually Tuolumne Meadows has half reservation, half walk-in, but I think it's all reservation this summer. So it's much more difficult to find a campsite. You can camp outside the park. On the other side of Tioga Pass, there's some campgrounds. I've never camped in them, but that is another option. Mary Ann might know more about this, actually.
We just had a question about reservations, and it just got answered in the chat. Where do we make reservations? On recreation.gov. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, John? Just the reservation system that people need to access?
Well, actually, I don't know much about doing that this year because it's totally different rules from past years. And I looked at it and decided it wasn't worth the effort. Mary Ann, can you add something to that?
Yes. If you go to recreation.gov and look up Yosemite Day entry tickets, they charge you $2 to make a reservation. And I haven't looked lately, but typically if it's the same as earlier this year, there's a few reservations that are given out day of, or maybe it's 2 days before. I don't recall. All the information is there on recreation.gov when you look it up. But the recreation's open like a month or two ahead, and you have to be online at 7 in the morning on whatever day it is that they open, and then you can get a reservation. And then sometimes you can grab one for 2 days away. I think it's still 2 days away. And as far as campgrounds, the Tioga Lake and Ellery Lake campgrounds just on the east side of Tioga Pass are Foresters campgrounds. So you could possibly get a campground reservation, but you'd still need a park reservation. Unless you're going to Mount Dana or those little lakes around Mount Dana that you mentioned, you can park just outside of the park. And there's another really nice hike across the street from Mount Dana. I don't know if you've ever done that one, John.
No, I haven't.
Gaylor Lake's up the other side.
Yeah, I have not done that.
Yeah, it's a absolutely beautiful hike right behind the ranger station at the entrance station. So you can park just outside the park and hike up 3/4 of a mile up, straight up. So it's kind of difficult, but then you get into a big lake basin with lots of options. It's really beautiful, lots of views.
Thank you.
Hey, John, so intrigued with your knowledge of the area. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of you taking these trips? I take it you took these trips with your family. Is this something that you've done for a long time?
Yeah, for 22 years straight, we would spend a week camping at White Wolf Campground. I think one year, the first year, we didn't get there in time to get a campsite, so we ended up camping at one of the primitive campgrounds where they don't even have water. But White Wolf is a great campground, and we figured out a system. We would drive up to Oakhurst, spend the night, get up early in the morning, like at 5, and eat breakfast and take off. Actually, not even eat breakfast, just grab something to tide us over and go into the park and arrive at White Wolf early in the morning. And every day, some people leave, and it's a non-reservation one. And every morning, some people leave, and you're just kind of like a vulture driving through the campground looking for people who are packing up and asking them, are you packing or unpacking? Are you leaving? And if they say they're leaving, then you can claim that site and fill out the ticket and put it in and wait for them. And while you're waiting for them to finish packing up, there's a lodge. In fact, White Wolf has reservation tent cabins and a little restaurant and a halfway decent buffet breakfast. So we would eat breakfast there while the people in the campsite we were going to use were packing up, and by the time we were done, they were gone, and we set up our camp. So a lot of hiking with my two boys. My daughter didn't like hiking that much, but did a lot of hiking with my two sons. And then later on, just within the last 10 years, I guess it was about 8 years ago, I did the High Sierra camps with friends, and that was a lot of fun too. Any other questions? Okay.
John, what a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
You're very welcome. Love
Very
sharing it. Yosemite is such a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there are lots of other hikes I could have included, but I needed to limit the time and effort. And like I said, I eliminated all the valley hikes simply because they're crowded. But if you don't mind the crowds, they're great hikes.
There's a few that aren't too crowded if you know where to go.
Yeah, okay.
Well, before we leave, John and anyone else that has knowledge, how long is this reservation system that went in this year? How long is that going to last? Is that just for the length of the pandemic, or what's the news on this that you've heard?
Well, it was put in place last year because of the pandemic, and I think partially because of the crowds in the park in general. I would not be surprised if it stays in place. I don't know. They're doing a lot of work in the valley. There's a lot less campgrounds. Even when they open everything up, they've lost some campgrounds a few years ago to the floods, and I'm not sure what they're going to be doing to control visitor levels in the future.
Yeah, it seems to be the case in nearby areas too. One of my favorite campgrounds in Sequoia is closed this year, and I hope it's not because of tree death, but we'll see. Yeah, Dorse Creek, but I'm sure they're doing a lot of work throughout the Sierra.
So I just pasted in the link to the YouTube channel again in the chat section, and this session has been recorded, and within 24 hours, I'll have it up, posted on the YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, John. What a wonderful set of hikes. I wouldn't say unusual, but some of the ones that aren't, the first that the casual camper thinks of. It's just a wonderful set of hikes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody for, I thank you for participating, and hopefully you get to do some of those hikes at some point.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.